Hey y'all, it's Kia, back with another video. Before I get started, please like, comment, subscribe, share this video. I'm trying to get my story out there so that other young ladies can know that the stuff that they dealing with is nothing too hard for God. I'm okay, and I've been through so much in my life and I'm only 39. Most elderly people haven't been through as much as I've been through and overcame it. So the last video was chapter 1, when I was born, and my first obstacle was the spinal meningitis. So now I'm gonna go into chapter 2. And instead of me doing the teenage years, I'm gonna back up and I'm gonna go into like grade school. So I'm from Pennsylvania. My mother is the baby of her sisters. She did have two. One died. So there was one, my Aunt Peggy and my mom. My mom was the baby. My grandma had a sister, and her sister moved to Rochester. Now, the story behind my grandma's sister is that my grandmother and my grandfather, who at the time was a basketball star in Pennsylvania, and he was drafted to the Harlem Globetrotters. And this was way back in the 50s, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But he was a basketball star, but he was very abusive to my grandma. And the little the little city that we stayed in had a juke joint, and he was beating up on my grandmother. Now the story goes that my grandma's sister was there and she killed him. So later on, from what we were told, she came here to Rochester the next day, and this is where she's been staying the whole time. Like, my mother and my aunt never knew until we got later down the line. They did find out. But that is the story. So that's how my aunt got here to Rochester. And my mom followed my aunt, because the jobs were better and plentiful here. So we ended up staying in the projects. And I have two younger cousins. So I'm the oldest. My other cousin is a year under me, and the other one is a year under her. So we go in stair steps, but we're all girls. So we kind of grew up together. Once you seen me, you seen the rest of them. If you seen the rest of them, I was coming not too far behind. So we were very close growing up. And I actually had to call my cousin to see if it was okay for me to disclose all of this, because a lot of stuff happened to us that the family don't really know. So my mom, she never was a drinker, but she would go out and have fun and all of that stuff. And, we did have a lot of family that would come up and visit my mom and my aunt, my great aunt, and, the little cousins that we have here and everything. And I remember this day distinctly because it was just the three of us we were in the projects. They were all staying the night with us. My mom went out and she had one of our girl cousins come over and babysit us in the project. The baby center went into my mother's room, and one by one we were forced to go in that room, and she would molest us, rub all over us, make us do things to her. I didn't know if I got the same treatment as they got, so I actually called my cousin, because when I decided that I was going to do this, and I'm trying not to cry, when I decided that I was going to do this and put my story out, I wanted to know if the same stuff happened to her that happened to me. So she confirmed that the same stuff happened to her. And so we were molested. But me and my cousins, because I'm the oldest, me and my cousins, we kind of just brushed it under the rug. We didn't know. We were very little. But I remember. But we were very little. I was maybe 6 or 7. My cousin was like 5 or 6. And then my other cousin was like 4 or 5. Like, we were little. And when it first happened. So we brushed it under the rug. We never thought anything of it. We thought it was normal. That girl cousins are supposed to do that. So we didn't know. So when they left, they were going back to Pennsylvania, my family, and my grandmother was taking me with her. And my grandmother, I was going to be there for the summer. My grandmother is a bingoer, so she will go to bingo, oh my gosh, every day, all day if she could. So that same cousin, she had babysit me. And the same thing happened again in my grandma's old age home. It's not like an old age home, but it's an apartment building for older people. It happened again there. But this time, when she left, I grabbed a knife and was gonna stab myself in my chest and stomach. My grandma walked in, took the knife from me, and said, "Girl, what are you doing?" And just started laughing. That was the most pain that I think I've ever felt. And that started a crazy cycle for me. But that wasn't the last time she did it. So at a young age, I tried to kill myself with a knife because of the stuff that I was going through and the fact that I was laughed at by the one person that I love the most. It took a toll on me. So that whole summer, I pretty much just stayed in a little shell. I didn't go out the house much. It was just me and grandma. And my grandmother, whenever she leave, I was there with her. And when she had to go to work, she got permission for me to bring me up there because I just did not want to stay. And she did find me another babysitter that my grandma was a good friend to my grandma. She babysat me and she made sure that I was okay. Like, she was my second grandmother, and she happened to live down the street from the clinic my grandma worked at. So after all of that, I didn't see the cousin again for a long while. But the damage has already been done to me. And at that point, I was suicidal, very depressed. And then to add on top of that, I was not a small child, so I was a big girl. And I've been called fat, ugly by my whole family. So not only am I dealing with the depression and the suicide, I have low self-esteem as well. So, I have been dealing with that since the age of 7. Yeah, so when I go back home to where my mom is, she has a boyfriend now. We ended up, she has this boyfriend, and I met him. I thought he was my father, and I will call him dad. And next thing I know, he was gone. Just gone. And I'm like, Mom, where's Dad? He's not your father. Stop calling him that. He's not your father. You don't need your father, is what she would tell me all the time. he's not your father. Stop calling him your father. But he was the only real person that I knew, male figure, that was a father to me. And so one minute he's there, the next minute he's gone. So I'm thinking something happened with me. And then she gets this other boyfriend. And this one helps her move. So we go from the projects into a little duplex, up and down. So we had the downstairs. And we moved on the opposite side of town. And she goes on to be with this guy for a very, 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 very long time. But it turned out that he was married. He was good to my mother. And I did like him, but I didn't like him as well. My mother and I, our relationship was not the best. Every time she had a boyfriend around, she would yell at me. She treated me like I was nothing, like I was a burden to her. And that's how I felt. And I don't know if it was the depression or the suicide ideations I had, but me and my mother just never got along. Never. And now that I've moved, I'm like, this is the reason why I don't have a dad. You are the reason why I don't have a dad. So I ended up having major medical issues from the meningitis. So from what I was told, I ended up going back down south to Pennsylvania for another summer. And I was doing good in school and everything, but I started being angry in school. So I was one of them kids that would fight constantly but get straight A's. So I passed school. I was in a Catholic school, and she sent me down south again for the summer. But I was having medical issues, and I guess the doctor wanted to know my dad's side of the family to know what to look for. So I guess she got in contact with him, because next thing I know, a guy called my grandma's house and was like, "Hi, Kia, this is your dad." And I'm like, "No, this isn't my dad. I don't have a dad." And he said, "No, I'm your dad." I said, "No, I don't have a dad." And I don't have a dad. So my grandma took the phone, and I was like, "Grandma, somebody on the phone saying that it's my dad." She was saying, "Okay, give me the phone." So I gave her the phone, and she said, "It is your dad, and he's gonna come see you." So like in the middle of the week, this guy came in this gray car with two other ladies with him. They were very big, and they were very big. And that's my first knowledge of my father. What I can remember, he is very, 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 very light-skinned, good hair, curly hair. And the other ladies were dark-skinned, is what I remember. And so I knew I had a dad. All right, so that is some of grade school. There's still a lot more of grade school, but we'll do that in the next video. This is my son.
Hey.
That's one of my sons. All right, thank you. Bye.